Ungoliant is a monstrous entity in the works of Tolkien that comes from mysterious origins and goes back into mysterious oblivion. Although her primordial form is unknown, she does later on, in the First Age of Arda, take on the form of a gigantic spider of darkness. She is mentioned briefly in The Lord of the Rings and plays a supporting role in the Silmarillion, enabling the Dark Lord Melkor to destroy the Two Trees of Valinor, and thereby darkening the world. So here in this video we will dive deep into her probable origins, her nature, appearance, powers and ultimate fate, as well as the offsprings that she had, the ones that still roam Middle-earth. So let's get to it. Ungoliant's origins are intentionally ambiguous, with Tolkien leaving her true nature open to interpretation. There is a theory that Ungoliant could be one of the Maiar spirits, a lesser Ainur who entered the world at its creation. Some suggest that she might have been a spirit corrupted by Morgoth, or it might also be that she turned to evil on her own accord, driven by an insatiable hunger and a desire for darkness. Although this might seem like a simple answer, there are other more ominous theories. In the Silmarillion, she is described as having descended from the darkness that lies about Arda, which implies that she might have been something older and more fundamental than the Ainur. She could be a nameless entity that came from the void or the outer darkness before the world was fully formed. Another interpretation is that Ungoliant represents an embodiment of the primordial darkness, a force that existed outside the influence of the Valar and the creation of the world. This would make her a being of pure shadow and darkness, not tied to any of the established categories like the Ainur or the Maiar. Be what it may, she was confirmed to be one of the earliest entities to have existed in Arda, a creature whose powers and aura rival that of even the Dark Lord Melkor as he was known back then. So Ungoliant here is a creature of primal darkness and one that is inflicted by an insatiable hunger, embodying the malevolent force of darkness and the void that consumes all light and life that she encounters. Her very essence is shrouded in shadow, and she is often depicted as a monstrous spider spinning webs of pure darkness, a form of dark abyss that none can see through, not even the Valar. As such, her hunger is not just for sustenance, but for light itself, which she devours to grow in power and size, as is her nature. This feeding habit is most famously demonstrated when she consumes the light of the Two Trees of Valinor, Laurelin and Telperion, draining them of all their light and glory until they withered away and died. As she consumes light, Ungoliant then belches forth black vapors too, darkening the world around her. For when the light from the two trees were consumed, darkness fell upon the world. Her hunger, as stated, is never really sated, and her greed drives her to even challenge Morgoth, her temporary ally, when she demands more than he is willing to give, the Silmarils, that held the last of the dying light of the two trees. Ungoliant's need to consume light reflects her nature as a being of pure darkness, existing only to extinguish the beauty and life that she encounters. She is often described and depicted as a monstrous spider, but she isn't really a spider in the true biological sense. As a spirit being, she entered Arda at the very beginning and chose to take on the form of a spider, which reflected her dark and malevolent nature. Her origins remain unspecified, but it is clear that like the Valar, the Maiar and the other spirits, Ungoliant could shape her physical form to embody her essence. Her terrifying appearance, while similar to a spider, also had many unique features that set her apart from any natural creature. Her form was one of pure darkness, both in spirit and physicality, making her a creature of fear and dread. Although she is credited as the first giant spider, her nature and form were far more complex and otherworldly, indicating that while she resembles a spider, she was something far more sinister and unique. Ungoliant's most terrifying power was the creation of something called the Unlight, also known as the Cloud of Ungoliant. This vast darkness was unlike any other shadow. No light could escape it or penetrate it. As Ungoliant devours the light of the Two Trees of Valinor, she unleashed this Unlight, which seemed not lacked but a thing with a being of its own, that made by malice out of light and had the power to pierce the eye, to enter the heart and mind and strangle the very will. She wove this darkness into webs that shrouded her lair in the lands of Avatar, south of Valinor, and used it as a cloak to conceal herself and Melkor during the darkening of Valinor. Even the mighty Tulkas could not break through this impenetrable darkness, which is like a shield when he pursued them. In Valinor, after the two fled to Middle-earth, the winds of Manwë finally eventually drove back her shadows to the sea, freeing the lands from her dreaded darkness. She also possessed the ability to change her size and shape, which made her even more terrifying. This power allowed her to grow to immense proportions, particularly when she consumes light or other forms of sustenance. As she devoured the light of the Two Trees of Valinor, she swelled to an enormous size, becoming a creature of overwhelming darkness and power. Her ability to grow seemed almost limitless, driven by her insatiable hunger. In addition to her capacity to increase in size, Ungoliant could also alter her form. These powers, combined with her creation of the Unlight, made Ungoliant one of the most powerful beings in Tolkien's legendarium. She had become so powerful by the time she had consumed the light of the two trees, as well as the lesser jewels stolen from Valinor, that she grew to a monstrous size and was able to challenge and even ensnare Melkor in her webs of unlight. She attempted to enmesh him in her nets and take the Silmarils by force when he denied her those jewels. Melkor, a Valar, fearing for his life, was something surprising and terrifying. He gave out a terrible cry of pain as she attacked, which was heard by the Balrogs hibernating way under the ruins of Angband. They suddenly awoke and immediately rushed to the aid of their Dark Lord, tearing apart Ungoliant's webbing with their fiery whips and forcing her to break off her attack. Ungoliant's attack on Morgoth left a lasting impact on the land, with her actions causing a scream that echoed endlessly across the region through eons and can never be unheard. This gave the area its name, Lamont, where it is said that any sound made there would reverberate off the surrounding hills, echoing Morgoth's voice. So she was driven off by the Balrogs and Morgoth, and Ungoliant retreated to the shadowy regions of Ered Gorgoroth, where she mated with the great spiders that already inhabited the mountains. These spiders were not her offsprings, they were something mysterious and had already been there before she came to the region. This union gave rise to a brood of even more terrifying and powerful offsprings, spreading her malice and fear throughout the land. These are the creatures that would later infest the land called Non-Dungortheb, and they were the surviving offsprings of Ungoliant, becoming a source of dread for any who ventured into that cursed valley. It is said that Ungoliant's insatiable hunger ultimately led to her doom, as she fled further south and consumed everything. And in the end, she devoured herself in a final desperate act of self-consumption, leaving behind nothing but darkness and nothingness. She thus went back to whence she first came, from nothingness. But the legacy she left behind was in the form of the great spiders of Middle-earth, the greatest of which was Shelob, a spider monster that we will dive deeper in a future video. Tolkien describes Shelob as most like a spider, though she and Ungoliant's offsprings differed from ordinary spiders in more than just their immense sizes. Bilbo notes that the Mirkwood spiders had insect eyes, while Shelob's eyes are said to have been clustered with 1,000 facets, resembling insect compound eyes. Shelob had her own offsprings, which were smaller but with cruel intelligence, and they spread through Efel Duat, or also called the Mountains of Shadow, and as far north as Dol Guldur and Mirkwood. The orcs would mention that Shelob typically paralyzes her prey, trapping them in webs and keeping them alive for some time before having her way and finally killing them. Though Shelob and the other spiders could not produce Ungoliant's unlight, the webs that they wove were still formidable, capable of ensnaring even the mightiest of warriors and creating layers so dark that no light could enter. As such, they are treated as evil and monstrous creatures, feared and hated by both the free peoples of Middle-earth and even the orcs. So that's all we have on Ungoliant, her origins, nature, and her final fate. So now, if you like this video, then watch this other one too, and do check out our channel for other dragon and monster content. We might have things you haven't seen before. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care, guys.